If you've been parenting a struggling young adult for any length of time, there's something that can quietly erode without you realizing it. It's not love, it's not commitment, it's not strength. It's self-trust. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly. And this month, we are talking about that. When I say self-trust, I'm not talking about confidence, and I'm definitely not talking about certainty. Self-trust is staying connected to yourself when the moment feels unclear. It's pausing before you react, holding a boundary even when your young adult is upset, making a decision without guaranteed outcomes. And when you've lived in survival mode for years, the connection to yourself can get buried. When you're parenting through mental health struggles, addiction, instability, or chronic dysregulation, your nervous system adapts. You learn to scan for danger, anticipate escalation, prevent the next crisis, override your own discomfort to keep things calm. Over time, you start second-guessing yourself. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I'm too strict. Maybe I'm not strict enough. Maybe I missed something. Self-trust doesn't erode because you're weak. It erodes because you've been under pressure for a long time. There was a moment when my husband and I made a boundary we believed was necessary for our home. Our son was continuing to smoke weed in the house. We had talked about it. We had explained the limit. We had tried to work with it. Eventually, we decided that if he couldn't respect the boundary, he would need to leave. It wasn't impulsive. We had discussed it carefully. But once it became real, once he didn't really have anywhere to go, I started questioning it almost immediately. Was this too harsh? Was I overreacting? Was I confusing firmness with fear? I remember thinking, I don't even know if I trust my own instincts anymore. The boundary itself wasn't unclear. What shook me was the discomfort, the fear, the uncertainty. The emotional cost of holding it felt high. That's how self-trust thins. Not because the boundary was wrong, but because the pressure around it was intense. One of the biggest misconceptions is that self-trust means being right. It doesn't. It means making the best decision you can and staying with yourself even if you refine it later. You can adjust, you can learn, you can respond imperfectly and still stay grounded. Self-trust isn't a perfect track record. It's refusing to abandon yourself in the process. There was another season when self-trust eroded in a different way. Instead of holding a line, I started over-functioning. My son wasn't applying for jobs. He wasn't looking. He wasn't following through. And my anxiety built. So I stepped in. I searched for jobs. I filled out applications for him. I told myself I was helping. But underneath, it was fear. Fear that nothing would move. Fear that inactivity meant collapse. Fear that I was responsible for my momentum. And if I'm honest, I didn't stop to ask whether this was my responsibility or not. I reacted to my discomfort. That's another way self-trust thins. not through rigidity, through anxiety disguised as help. Overfunctioning can look supportive, but sometimes it's just fear in motion. Self-trust is easiest when things are calm. It's hardest when your young adult is dysregulated. Something feels urgent. Someone questions your decision. Fear gets loud. That's why this month isn't about trusting yourself in theory. It's about trusting yourself under pressure. When guilt shows up, when boundaries are tested, when outcomes are slow. Rebuilding self-trust isn't dramatic. It's small and repetitive. It looks like pausing before responding, noticing your internal signals, holding steady when discomfort rises, not overriding yourself to keep the peace. It doesn't look powerful, but it compounds. There was a small moment that didn't look like much. My son and daughter were taking a 2-hour drive. He asked me for $15 in case they stopped for snacks. 18 months earlier, I probably would have handed it over. I would have just justified it, minimized it, told myself it wasn't a big deal. But he hadn't worked in 18 months. And this time, I didn't over-explain, I didn't lecture, I didn't negotiate. I simply said, get a job. That was it. No long justification, no emotional back and forth, no convincing him or myself that I was being reasonable. It was not dramatic. It didn't fix anything overnight, but I didn't spiral afterwards. I didn't second guess it for hours. I stayed with the decision. That was self-trust. Not loud, not forceful, just steady. This month is about one idea: trusting yourself without needing certainty. Because certainty isn't available in this kind of parenting. What is available is steadiness, consistency, responsibility for what's yours, and letting go of what isn't. When self-trust rebuilds, something shifts. You stop chasing reassurance, you stop over-explaining, you stop reacting from fear. You respond from steadiness instead. If you've been doubting yourself lately, hear this. Self-trust didn't disappear. It adapted to survive, and it can return. Not through certainty, not through perfect outcomes, but through staying connected to yourself, especially when it's uncomfortable. This month, we're going deeper into that, and I'm glad you're here.